I needed to that. And I think if I wanted to have got clean when I did, I don't think I would be here today. I would not be here today. I would have died because I mean, during the time, like right during that time I was getting clean is when all that fentanyl was going around really, really bad.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. So, kind of okay. So now coming out of that, and where did you find yourself in a position to where you felt like things have kind of settled down and calmed down in your life, and you know where you can almost kind of function a little bit better than what you did before. Where was that moment of some sense of normalcy? If I guess if you want to call it
Um,
that.
Probably here in January when I started my like just here recently.
Really? Wow. That's interesting. So you went probably for a full year, actually almost 2 years. I would. You said you're 21 months, right? So you
About
went a
18 months into it.
yeah 18 months. Wow. So what was it? What was that like for you to feel like there's been some sense of normalcy? Did you get? I mean, obviously you've had your kids, correct?
Well, okay, when I came back home, um, living with my husband, we didn't have our kids back yet. We just
Okay.
like legally got custody of our kids back in February. Um, First month or two, I was not allowed in the home when my children were here on weekend visits.
Hmm.
I had to be at a hotel's house. I had to be at a hotel or a friend's house. I had supervised visits.
Right.
I think for the first 2 months, I mean, anytime I saw my kids, I had to take a drug test. At this point in time, I think if to this day, if somebody like here's the piss cup, piss in it, I could do it on demand,
Right.
command. Um, so September of last year is when their girls came home, like where they were leaving us. We were doing a home trial visit where the kids were home with us all the time. I think during, you know, that time. And then we got custody back February 1st of this year. Like CPS is not involved in the house anymore. They're not coming monthly to do check-ins. We have nothing to do with them anymore. I think
Fantastic.
around, like I said, about 18 months
Yeah,
when
congratulations.
Yeah.
they left. When
You
they left, I mean,
I feel
because
like I'm missing something here. How come they didn't just stay with your husband? What happened there?
um, my kids were actually taken away before my act conviction started. Like this last relapse. I was struggling with depression, anxiety, and the house was not clean. Like when this this last spell before I got help, my depression was really, really bad. What made me like, the medications that I was taking prior to,
Hmm.
because before this relapse, I was 9 years clean,
Mm-hmm.
9 or 10 years clean, because I got
Wow.
cleaning. The very first time I got clean was February 28th of '06. And then right around that time
Wrong button.
frame, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. So obviously I never, you know, never did anything like that when I was pregnant. That is no, no, no. We're not even going to get in that conversation.
It's interesting.
Hmm.
You draw the line there. You draw the line
Like I
there.
draw the line, like
Yeah.
no,
At least you
no.
have a boundary that you're not willing to
Yeah.
cross. That's definitely good news.
Yeah.
Now
So
if
and
only
I
you can
was
learn to make more boundaries that you're not willing to have crossed.
Hmm.
it's like that. That was it's like no, not when you're pregnant. So and I mean for 3 years damn near I was pregnant. I mean like my kids are my oldest to my middle is 18 months apart and my middle to my youngest are 18 months
so
apart. I mean I
so
was
you like
I was pregnant for a long time.
you kind of replace one addiction with another. This addiction being I'm just going to be pregnant all the time.
That's gonna keep you clean.
And broke.
There you
Right.
go.
Right.
Either way, you're going
And
to be
I
broke, so you might as well have some children out of it, right?
All right.
right. And um May of 27 of 17 I was helping somebody out and they took advantage of me like they could go into exactly what happened. I mean, I don't need to say it. I think you guys already know.
Right.
Hmm.
And from there to February, where we lost my kids, like my husband has said is I mentally checked out. During that time, I was writing bad checks. I didn't know any of like half of the stuff I was doing. Like until I came back, was clean, and like, guess what? You have all this to deal with. Like a lot of crime, or not crime, but a lot of consequences for your actions that you have no clue what you were doing.
Yeah, you've been writing a bunch of checks, and they finally came back to be cashed, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I was mentally gone before I started using them, and then when they complete, when my kids got taken away, is when I completely like I was checked
You
out.
still didn't quite answer my question. I was curious what happened to you.
Yeah, what happened
why
to
didn't the
the
kids go
kids?
to the husband? Why couldn't he take them?
Because he was in the home. He was allowing the not having the clean house, not you know,
So this was
what
the
I mean?
living conditions weren't appropriate for the children to live in.
Got it. Okay, so
Okay,
Neglect.
he wasn't picking
gotcha.
up your slack. Basically, I assume he works then, and you normally would take care of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and you weren't doing that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so he
No,
was not taking on that extra.
Okay.
wait,
Wow.
waiting for him. I think he just didn't know what to do with me.
So not
Had
Yeah,
only
no,
was he
I can totally understand because I've been through similar situations. It's not fun to deal with, not at all.
well, I mean, think about that. I mean, he's juggling girls,
Yeah, three girls, full time job,
a
a wife
wife
that you don't know
that's
where she's at half the time or what she's doing, a house that's getting out of hand.
I was there, but I wasn't physically there. If that makes
right.
sense. I was
Right.
body form. I was there, but physically,
No, I
mentally, I
get it.
was not.
So he was probably dealing with his own thoughts of what he was going through and what he was kind of left with. And I don't mean that in a disrespect towards you. It's just,
Oh, oh.
I mean, that's a huge undertaking,
And
to
there
have
was
to
a
deal with.
lot of pieces he had to pick up when I decided I was just gonna go to Bismarck one day and not come back.
Huh.
Well,
I mean, he had to pick up all
I do want to underline how brave it is of you to come on the show and have
Yeah.
this conversation with us. This is not an easy conversation at
No.
all. Um,
this conversation might save somebody's life.
I hope it has done something to help you
Yeah.
too. Quite frankly, I really hope there was something you could pull out of this that'll help you in some way, shape, or form. You know, we're here
I
for the audience, but we're also here for our guests as well. You know.
Yeah.
I think it has
Yeah,
because
basically, I'm not just here to
even
use
if there,
you to help my audience. Does that make sense? I want to help. You know, we want to try to, you know,
It's about community for us. When we have you and others on the show to talk about the personal problems, it's to have it's to open that conversation up in which we're having right now. The
right.
conversations most don't want to have, and a lot of people need some way to have that first. I guess you would call it jumping off point.
mhm.
Sometimes you need that
Hmm.
platform. Just say, okay, take a deep breath. I'm going to do this. And you do it. And yes, you're right. Maybe it could save somebody's life. But ultimately, what we want from this is a relationship with you, is to be able to keep in touch with you, to see how the progress. And if you struggle with something, we have a community of people that watch this show that would love nothing more than to support what you're going through. And hopefully that could be such a, great support group for you that you don't relapse, that you don't have to, make bad decisions. And that's kind of the community that we're trying to build. It's not about views. It's not about the things that are outside of this
The
conversation.
hell, it's not.
This is
Right.
this
Sorry.
is about just the human element in the human conversation, to understand that these are real problems that plague our society, and these conversations
Right.
have to be had.
And like I think when it comes to addiction, any kind of addiction, it's so taboo that it's not. I mean, especially like I live in a small town, for example.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe 1,500 people that live here. Do you know how many people focus on my past and not where I'm at today? You mean I can't? I mean, it took me until January to get a job. I lost my job due to this coronavirus thing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I don't have one to go back to because of situations that arose during this time. Because that one person that advocated me is no longer there, and the people that own the place didn't want me there in the first place because of what they have heard about me.
Yeah, and listen,
versus knowing me.
I mean, I hate to say, I do understand from an employer's perspective as well
Yeah,
that
it's a liability.
it a lot of it, to be
Well, I
honest, is
understand that.
like, to be perfectly honest. Again, taking it back to the 30,000 foot view here, it's a lot to do with government regulation on these companies that make it almost impossible to fire somebody. So when you do hire somebody, you have to be so hypersensitive
Hmm.
to the possible risks that they could bring to your company that they have no choice but to like filter out anybody with any kind of past and try to strive. You know what I'm saying? They can't
I
afford
totally
to
understand
yeah,
that,
they can't
but I
afford to take a
mean,
risk, and it's not fair. It's really not fair because there's a lot of people out there that have made the recovery, that are doing
They're
good
making the
things,
efforts.
and it's like I if I was in that situation, I could totally understand. Like, if I'm trying really hard, everything's going great, except for I can't, like, society does not seem to want to accept me because I can't get a job.
Well, and the
It's like,
problem with that is because society doesn't want to accept people such as her, and unfortunately, her past does plague her. This is where a lot of people that have struggled with addictions tend to relapse because they
yeah,
try so
mm,
hard to get themselves back on their feet, to stay clean, to walk the narrow path, or that didn't make any sense,
yeah,
to walk the straight path, and they want to get their life together. But then when you're constantly getting turned down job after
yeah.
job after job, and it's just like, you know what, screw it.
I
Then she
really
falls
do.
back into that depression. Then it's back to the pills, back to the drinking. Guess what? She's relapsed.
Yeah,
It's a
I
it's a
do,
continuous cycle that needs to
totally.
be broke. So
Yeah, I do. I do. I completely forgot what I was saying. No, I do think that there's a lot of employers out there that would love nothing more than to be able to hire you, give you a shot, except that it's, like I
yeah,
said,
but Anthony, it's not the case. I mean, this
such a
is,
hassle to.
that is not the
or
case for what.
it's not the case for here because this is such a small town. They don't care. I mean, I don't know. This whole when it comes to work things, they go off of not you. They go off by the word of what other people are saying.
Well, yeah, you
They're
got to
judging you
right.
before they know you.
Yeah, you've got a
You're
reputation.
listening to somebody else. For
Yeah,
example, like I heard this such and such. You
right.
don't even know if it's true because you haven't sat down and talked to me.
Yeah,
You don't know
yeah,
where I've
yeah.
been in the last 2 years.
Well, that's
How
what
do you know?
that's what I was explaining.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
reputation precedes you. But
right.
have you guys thought about
Oh,
moving?
definitely.
Have you guys thought about moving to
And
another
just starting
location, just
over,
getting a fresh start where you don't have to interact with people that know your past?
or is that possible?
No,
Why is it not
no,
possible?
that just I think my husband's comfortable here.
Maybe that's another conversation that needs to be had. What do you think?
That is, yeah, I do
Yeah, you deserve a fair
because
chance at.
I had to have a sense of worth,
Yeah,
and I had that for 3 months. And
Hmm.
like I said, in the split second, it
yeah.
was taken.
If what you need is to get out of that environment so that you can actually, you know, succeed.
Prosper.
Um,
And I mean, the things I should have done, I wish I would have. The first year, I wish I would have stayed in a
yeah.
clean, sober,
Well,
out
part of
home.
what you're doing, if you're staying because everybody else is comfortable, you're doing the same. It's again, it's that people pleasing thing. You're not putting
Yeah.
yourself, saying, "Hey, listen, I really need this. Like, I don't want to go down that path again. This would help me. You wouldn't even believe how much this would help me. Like, sit down your husband, sit down your kids, whatever you need to do to make them acknowledge you. Don't let them walk all over you. Find some kind of negotiation or compromise or something, anything
Just some sort of common ground.
that, you say, look, I got these needs. I'm afraid I'm going to relapse. I need to get out of this environment. I cannot succeed here. I've got too much reputation. Everybody knows everybody. It's just not going to work here.
Yeah.
What can we do? Help me out here. you know?
Right. And we went to Montana like right before all this happened. Like
Yeah.
everything is shutting down. I think my dad had a really good conversation with him. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I mean, he finally this summer he got a CD or permit for the CDL. With him getting his CDL, that brings a world of opportunities. You know, being something we
Sure.
need to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I do hope you can find something. We're gonna have to wrap this up. We're already running at an hour and a half, which is not a huge deal, but you know.
Well, I do have one
Um.
last question.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I do.
Yeah.
So, right now, currently where you're at, and if you have any advice for people that are struggling with I cannot speak tonight. Addiction.
Addiction.
Thank you.
Okay.
What would you tell those
Imagine
that are
that.
currently
Anthony has
watching?
trouble saying a dick.
Yeah, addiction. Pronunciation.
Um,
What would you tell the people watching or listening on the podcast? What would you tell them if they're currently struggling, with some sort of drug or alcohol abuse?
I would say that um, you can do this. You can overcome this. You can get out.
Right.
Um, that it is a wrong road, but it's so worth it to be able to be here today in the present. And all it takes is that one step, that one first step.
Right.
And um, because yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's totally worth it. Getting your wife back, I mean, yeah, there's gonna be challenges
Oh,
that you're gonna face, but it's gonna be okay.
we
It's
got
gonna be okay because
we got a visitor behind you there.
Where?
One of those daughters.
Oh, we saw you. Can't hide from us.
you know that you're worth it.
Right.
That no matter, sorry, she was like, no matter how bad it is, there is a light up at that tunnel. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That you're worth it. Um, that this I don't want to say meetings or this fellowship with recovery, there's arms wide open. Reach out to me and I can get you in the right direction. Um, don't be afraid. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's worth it. Take it one day at a time. Because this is not a I program; it's a we program. We're never alone in this program.
Right.
There's hope. I'm 21 months into this. I don't have all the answers, but look it through it. You really will, even though it may not seem at the moment. Talking about, like I said, 21 months ago, I would have never would have fathomed being right here today. I didn't even think I was going to make it 30, after the 30 days of getting out of treatment. But
Right on.
by the grace of
Congratulations.
God, I did.
Well, just keep us up to date on your progress. I hope you continue the therapy that you probably much need, and I really hope that in the future that you have these conversations with your family, your mom, and your dad, along with others. And I really hope that maybe in the near future you might have a new life, new scenery, new friends, and just a new start over for you. I think that you deserve that. Everything that you've been through. We appreciate you coming on and talking about this. We know that it's difficult. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You made that first step just like you did with recovery. It's a difficult one, but you made it. So this is another thing that you ought to be proud of is to, open up about your story and what you've been through. And I really hope that it does impact and help others. And, we're more than just, about politics sometimes. This show is meant to help people, is to help to encourage people to do good in life. We couldn't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story and giving us a background of what you went through. This is what we love, and we just can't thank you enough for coming on tonight.
I can't thank you guys enough for letting me come on the show. I
Absolutely.
can't wait to see where you like. Can you imagine me in July, like on my 2 years? Like
Can you?
4 years from now? Yeah, I can.
Can you imagine you in
can.
July? It doesn't matter if we can imagine
Yeah,
you.
we hope. You know what? In July, maybe we can work something out, and we can have you on the show in July, and we can celebrate that 2 years with you.
What do you think?
That'd be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Reach out and
Yeah,
let us
I
know.
mean, because
All right.
better to be. I mean, you know what I mean. Oh my gosh, I
I
lost
know
my
what you
train of
mean. All
thought. I
right.
can't talk.
Well, y'all have been watching another episode of the Unframe Mind show, and this was definitely one of those uncomfortable conversations without a condom we talk about all the time. I feel like we had a pretty good, productive conversation there. Rita, you're welcome to hang up. I think me and Anthony will talk
Okay.
for just a few more
Yeah,
minutes,
we're
but I appreciate you. We're just going to give some people some updates on what's going on and
All
everything.
right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
Ooh, last 2 days have been kind of
it's been
just
heavy. Yeah.
Heavy.
It's been real heavy. I really, really hope that these people we talk to do reach back out, keep us updated on their story, and we can share their story with everybody else. Like these are like, again, we've said this I'm sure quite a few times on the show before. We have these conversations for a reason. We could talk about the nitty gritty and the minutia of politics all day long, or the philosophy behind how we should operate our society. Those are important conversations too, but it really doesn't amount to a hill of beans if we can't even get over our own selves, get out of our own ways to have the conversations with the people in our own living rooms.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that you need to be talking to first before you go trying to save the world and fix all the world's problems. You need to be able to talk to the people in your own household,
Well,
in your own circle. You know.
Yeah, and I'm starting to realize that there are so many similar patterns to these guests that we have on that deal with some sort of addiction. I am really struggling with that word tonight. It blows my mind that people kind of fall into this lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, the broken homes, the parents, and just the way they raise their children, and you know the abuse that goes on. I mean, that is just, I can't even imagine that, you know, being a young child or even a little girl and being sexually abused, and you know, because that really kind of sets the catalyst to everything that's going to happen for years on down the road.
Exactly.
And that's got to be a scary thought to have. But you know, with every darkness there is light, and with that being light is having guests on that have been 21 months clean.
Yeah.
You know, who.
Yeah, that's nothing to shake a stick at. I can totally understand how hard that is.
Yeah, that is. You got to wonder if she struggles with that daily, waking up
I
every
imagine.
day,
I imagine, yeah.
and the choices you have to make, as we often talk about on this show, you know, that affect our daily lives and future. You know, people get up and they're like, they're just doing good to get through the day to make sure that they don't relapse. You know, we're getting through the day just to make sure we pay our bills. They're trying to make sure that they're not going to OD or relapse, and you know, and let family members down, let friends down. That's such a huge burden kind of carry sometimes. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, and it really doesn't help that when you have these broken home relationships, these destructive childhoods, you know, you like there's no shortage of drugs around. There's no shortage of alcohol and abuse and sexual abuse, you know, especially. Oh my God, that's like it breaks it breaks my heart when I hear that stuff going on.
You got 3 girls.
I have 3 girls and a boy. I hope to God nothing's ever happened to them. As far as I know, nothing's ever happened to them.
Right.
You know, I've kept them sheltered and protected from people who I might think would have the capacity to do that.
Right.
You know, I never bring anybody around the house. I never expose them to people that I feel like might be that kind of person. You know, I'm pretty good about identifying creeps.
But we're also realizing too how much this goes on within our own families. I mean, she was talking about a cousin. You know, I've heard cousin. I've heard.
And then it got swept under the rug.
Yeah,
Because what's ironic is, you know, that kind of shit gets swept under the rug, because all of a sudden mom and dad's worried about their reputation, or whatever the case is. You know, they don't want that negative light on their household, and it's like that seems to be the common way these things are handled. I don't understand that. I really don't.
They're so worried about the reputation. Nobody's dealing with the one that actually committed the sexual assault.
Right. And oftentimes they even feel like it was their fault, or like somehow they deserved it.
It blows my mind how much people are so easily persuaded into thinking that something that happened to them is now their fault. The manipulation behind that is unbelievable.
Well, part of it goes back to what I was saying before about how bullies can identify the weaklings.
Right.
You know, like think about this. How much trouble can a pedophile get into for molesting a child?
Right.
You know, how much are they putting on the line for making that move and going ahead and taking the action? You know, thoughts are one thing, but to take the action, boy, you were taking a big risk, because even, you know, there's huge penalties, from a legal standpoint.
Right.
There's huge penalties from a societal standpoint.
Right.
There's huge penalties from even if you do end up in jail. Like they don't look kindly on that.
No.
You've heard what happens to pedophiles in jail,
There's
right?
a lot of them in there that
So
don't like
you
them.
think about that. If I'm, if a pedophile is sitting there trying to identify their victim, they know that that person will never say nothing, and in fact, they may even blame themselves for it. Like it's a sure thing. It's like 100% sure thing. I will not get in trouble for this in their minds,
Yeah, and it seems like the longer we do this show and the more people we meet, it psychologically, I mean, it I wouldn't say it gets to you, but it opens your mind and it opens your eyes to things that you often read about or you see other people talk about online or in other videos.
Mm-hmm.
But then now we're kind of diving deep into that. We're becoming the ones asking the questions, hearing the stories, legit from people that we've become friends with.
It's totally different from when you see the statistics and the numbers and things like that
Yeah.
versus when you actually get into the stories of like the atrocities, the legit real shit
Statistics just
leads into those
yeah,
statistics.
because the statistics just give you the obviously numbers, but you don't know this backstories. You don't know if it's a family member, if it's a friend, if it's a stranger. You don't know if it's. I mean, you just don't know, and that's why it's so important that we do this show, and that's why it's so important that we have these conversations. And hopefully Rita can have her conversations with her husband and with her mom and with her dad. I really hope that for her. I really hope that she has those, because something I was picking up on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost has seemed as if she's almost terrified of herself, meaning that she's afraid to have those conversations because she doesn't want to upset people. And she's kind of her own worst enemy by not having those conversations. And because she's not having them, I think she might be preventing herself from furthering her sobriety maybe a little bit, kind of having the conversation with her husband about making, a move to, have a change of scenery and a fresh start and a new job, new friends. And to me, all those things are beneficial. So why wouldn't you want that? You know what I'm saying?
Because everybody else in her household doesn't want those things.
Right.
They're comfortable. They like where they're at. The kids are going, I like my school. I like my friends. You know what? Sometimes you got to make those tough decisions. You got to make those tough moves. I liked my friends. I moved a few times. I was happier every single time I moved. Like it was just the kids, they may be scared. They don't know what's on the other side. They may not even realize because all this is normal to them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand how different it could be. They don't have that thing to compare it to. So for mommy to move out of this situation and to just get clear of her head of everything else that's going on, kids get to see mom making changes. Kids get to see a strong, independent woman doing what she needs to do, making those executive decisions to make the changes, and that will have such a huge impact on them kids. They may disagree with it now and go, oh, I hate you, Mom.
They won't understand as to why now, but
so I can't stand you. You can't. You're making me leave my friends. I hate you.
I
You
gotta
may
start a new school.
You may get some shit like that, but ultimately,
you're thinking long term.
yeah. You see, as the adult. And having the cognitive ability to see down the tunnel of time, the kids don't have that yet. They see what they have, and all they've known. That's all they see. They see this one little picture. That's it.
Yeah, they see this short little time span of which they've had of life.
Yeah,
and they're not seeing what we have already seen.
And it's normal to
30, 40 years.
Yeah, and it's normal to them, and they're like, oh, this is fine. We're cool. We're not in danger. We're not like dying or anything. But they don't realize how much better it could be.
Right.
So of course they're going to fight it because they're scared too.
Right.
And you got to be there to like say, hey, listen, this is what might happen. This maybe I've moved to, to explain your stories, that kind of thing. And I think the kids will they'll come on board. They'll come on board with it. They'll understand and they'll see.
And sometimes it's okay to be selfish and say, I need a new, fresh start.
Yeah.
Where she's always trying to please others and do for others, maybe she needs to reel this in and say, you know what, for the first time in my life, I need to do this for me, and if it costs you in the long run.
I've met a lot of people pleasers and it never ends well.
No.
Especially the ones that are just like 100%, yes, sure, walk all over me, I'll do it. My mom struggled with that for years. That was something that she went through for forever. Was just people pleasing all the time, and it was quite refreshing to see she did go quite the opposite polar end for a little while, but she kind of
Yeah.
found that she kind of found her stride, and where
Yeah.
she's taking care of herself, doing what she needs to do, but also seeing that other people are, she's not a people pleaser now, but
Yeah.
she's more healthy, I guess. Is the,
I just,
like she's actually going to college and
Yeah.
and learning how she wants to be a nurse, and
I'm friends with her on Facebook.
yeah,
so.
yeah, she's doing great, and she's so excited. She called me the other day, talking, bragging about her B+ she got on her assignment, and she's so because she's understanding that I'm not as stupid as I always thought I was. I'm not as dumb as my dad always told me I was.
Yeah.
And she's learning that, and she's growing. And I think for Rita tonight, she can have a lot of those same things if she just continues down this path and
Right.
and stops trying to be such a people pleaser.
And I think with a move like this for them to move somewhere different, it opens up new opportunities for a new circle of friends.
Right.
And to start surrounding yourself with those that are not going to encourage the behaviors of drug, or alcohol abuse. And she has a lot on her plate. I mean, first things first, she needs to hit the 2-year mark. In my opinion, she needs to reach that milestone. And then she probably needs to start working on the communication skills with her parents, and then obviously with her husband, and probably with their children. She's got a lot of work cut out for her. I would love nothing more.
Sorry.
I would love.
Who did that? Who did that?
I would love nothing more than say a year from now to see where
Sorry,
she
everybody
at.
was watching was just suddenly woke up like,
Yeah.
oh, all 5 people that are sleeping on our stream right now.
I get told so many times because of my voice, because it is so deep, I put people to sleep, and I'm like,
It's
shit.
a very relaxing voice.
I've been told.
All of a
this.
sudden, my dumbass smacks a button and wakes everybody up.
Hey, welcome
So,
back to the show.
Hey, you guys have been watching. Yeah, I this wasn't planned. This little postmortem that we're doing afterwards.
I kind of like
but,
this because
it's-
it kind of gives us a chance to review who we've had on the show,
Yeah.
and I know it carries on a little longer than normal, but I do like this though. I like the chance for us to discuss who we just had on or the topic we just had when it's not just you and I on the show. I do like this. I mean, it's pretty cool.
I was just trying something new, and I figured you just flow with it. So I hope
Yeah.
the people that were watching enjoyed it too. I mean, they hung in there for us. Yeah. Again, if you guys have been watching the Unframe of Mind show, and wow, like I said, heavy episodes. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit lighter. We're going to be talking to a guy that's running a protest out here
to
about
reopen Tennessee.
Right. So that's going to be interesting. I'd like to see what his thoughts are on that. I've got some of my own thoughts that I've been kind of slowly but surely putting together. There's just been so much.
We're starting to see a lot of these protests pop up.
Yeah,
everywhere.
and there's and
the
people
one up
are,
in Michigan's been pretty brutal.
people are starting to
so.
get restless, and I really get a feeling that money that came in the bank is only going to do so much to placate people, which is what it's really designed to do. It's to prevent riots.
We're humans.
Let's
We
be real.
need to social interact. We need to see our friends. We need to see our families. We need to go to church if we go to church. We need to be able to do the things that we have been so used to doing.
All right.
To
And
take that away from us.
We'll definitely get into all that
We're gonna
tomorrow.
find
So
out
stay
more.
tuned tomorrow
Yeah.
at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern for that. And we will be back tomorrow for the last
The
of
10 of
our
10.
10 shows in 10 days.
This has been fun, man.
It's been fun. It has been fun. A lot of work.
You have seen a lot of me.
I have seen a lot of you. I have seen
Can't
a
say
lot
that's
of
a
you.
good thing.
All right, y'all.
Whatever.
Have a good night. Well, let's see. Your feet are large, but it's not because your penis is large too.
Keep your pants dry and your dick.